In 2019, the cornerstone of our democracy and free society has been under a constant attack from the liberal establishment in Connecticut higher education. I stand here before you and say that free expression of ideas on Connecticut college campuses is dead. My students are facing a new wave of censorship that has been able to silence speech by preying on the vulnerability of our students. This censorship has been able to snake its way around the false facade of the university's free speech policies to ensure that only one major school of thought is preached to the student body. In this new wave of censorship, the professors used the divide and conquer method to force feed a new radical form of socialist ideas and developing the minds of our students across the state. They publicly humiliate these students and vilify their ideas to their peers in order to guide these students into silence and to ensure that the professor's own suppression agenda can be enacted. Students do not have a lot of options when it comes to fighting back and making sure their constitutional right to free speech is protected. As chairman of the Connecticut Federation of College Republicans, I've been in a room full of 30 freshmen, and their biggest concerns of going to college was being able to keep their own opinions without having the professors retaliate them and harm their grades, and being publicly shamed for having the audacity to think differently than the professor. We've all heard the horror stories of the professors going after students for thinking differently from them, and I regret to say that this is happening in Connecticut. We have professors going after students because they feel threatened by having the idea of new opinions being in the classroom. As a student of the University of New Haven, I've been told in front of my peers by a professor that my opinion did not matter because I supported the president. How am I supposed to think, or any other student in that situation, that their teacher will be unbiased and grade their assignments fairly? After years of suppression and political suppression, enough is enough. As chairman of the Connecticut Federation of College Republicans, I'm proud to stand here with my vice chairwoman, Sarah O'Connor, the secretary of the State Federation Executive Board, Lauren Risley, our executive director, AJ Canzelis, our director of campus outreach, Kate Boswell, and our communication director, Nick Ingstrom, along with Senate Republicans, the chairman of the Republican Party in Connecticut, J.R. Romano, the Conservative Caucus, Senate Republicans, Tommy Gilmer, who's running for Congress in the second, to officially announce our free speech initiative, Take Back the First. Take Back the First is not meant for our organization to promote our liberty-centered principles of the Republican Party, but rather to ensure that every student on college campuses in this state of Connecticut, regardless of political ideology, can speak freely without the fear of retaliation from their professors. Our first act of our Take Back the First, the Connecticut Federation of College Republicans will be lobbying, as of today, all the colleges in Connecticut to amend their discrimination policies to include political ideology, which will officially designate political ideology as a protective class on campuses. No student should be in fear to speak freely and voice their opinions on any college campuses in 2019. We have chosen to fight for this crucial designation because we have seen firsthand the power that professors hold over their students. They have been able to hold their minds hostage for too long. Students are forced to write essays that will please the viewpoints of their professors rather than expressing their own opinions. And these are not institutions of higher learning, these are political prisons, intellectual prisons. But by establishing political ideology as a protective class, we'll be paving the way for accountability in the classroom. Students will be able to speak up against their suppression with the support of an official university policy protecting students' right to free speech fully. We commend the 7 colleges in Connecticut that have already established political ideology as a protective class, and by forbidding the discrimination on the basis of political ideology. We thank Fairfield University, Connecticut College, Mitchell College, Wesleyan University, Tunxus Community College, Manchester Community College, and Goodwin College, and we applaud their commitment to free and open thought and their commitment to free and open thought in a state where it's so blatantly obvious that it's not welcome. I stand here now to call upon the other 22 major colleges and universities in Connecticut who make the conscious decision to turn a blind eye to the discrimination on the basis of political belief to finally take a step forward in liberating the minds of their students and put an end to political suppression by amending their discrimination policies to include political ideology. We now call upon Albertus Magnus College as Natuck Community College, Capital Community College, Central Connecticut State University, Charter Oak State College, Eastern Connecticut State University, Housatonic Community College, Northwestern Connecticut Community College, Norwalk Community College, Post University, Quinebaug Valley Community College, Quinnipiac University, Sacred Heart University, Southern Connecticut State University, Three Rivers Community College, Trinity College, the University of Bridgeport, University of Connecticut, University of Hartford, University of New Haven, University of St. Joseph's, and Western Connecticut State College and Yale to join us and fully protect their students for free speech. And we understand the rights of private institutions to govern their institutions the way they see fair, but we also understand that the vulnerability of the students for free speech, and that's why we ask them to amend their policies to protect them fully. These schools are setting political traps for their students, and they tell their students that they have the right to speak openly on campus. Then when the students speak openly, this forces the professors to use this as an opportunity to target and silence any student that contradicts their ideology, all while the schools celebrate the diversity of every category under the sun except for the diversity of thought. There shall be no compromise on our endeavor to allow every student to speak their opinion and without retaliation from their professors, and we will work tirelessly until every school protects their students from the discrimination on the basis of political ideology. Speech is not free until the threat of persecution has been eliminated. Thank you. So now I'm going to call up our communications director, Nick Engstrom, who's also the president of Trinity College, to speak on his issues with the First Amendment on Trinity College.
Thank you, Tim.
President of the association at Trinity?
Yeah, president of Trinity College, Republicans. Preppy Hitler, a pasty Klansman, death threats, slanderous posters. These are not the phrases one wants to use to describe their experience as a freshman at Trinity College, but they are the phrases I had to use to describe my experience as a freshman at Trinity College. My name is Nick Engstrom, president of Trinity College Republicans and communications director for the State Federation of College Republicans. This is my story. This is how I survived my freshman year as a conservative on campus. This is how I know that protecting free speech is a critical issue and how I know that action must be taken. Let's start from the beginning. Things were great. I came to Trinity excited. I restarted College Republicans, helped create a political union on campus, and I even gave an interview on the local radio about bridging the political divide and finding common good. For the first 7 months, I was known as a leader, and I was what I like to call a good Republican. Then everything changed. Essentially, I ventured from the political to the academic sphere, and it's here that I experienced censorship. Back in November of 2018, I joined the Churchill Institute, an academic organization similar to the Hamilton Institute at Hamilton College or the Abigail Adams Institute at Harvard, and countless other organizations around the country. The club focuses on the study of Western civilization and philosophy, noting that it is seldom taught comprehensively on the college level anymore. This is even the case at a liberal arts college like Trinity, which is intended to focus on these ideas. I joined this organization to deepen my understanding of Western thought and to broaden my exposure to the traditional liberal arts curriculum, to challenge and solidify my academic understanding of American conservatism. The Institute has existed on Trinity's campus ever since 2016 with no free speech issues, but that all changed when I and a few other students wanted to create a student club recognized by Trinity's Student Government Association, also referred to as SGA. We sought approval as a means to book rooms, host events, and potentially receive a small stipend. Immediately, I was met with fierce backlash. In a matter of days, I went from being known as a good Republican to being called a white supremacist. Right away, a groupthink mentality set in at Trinity, and so began the attacks on my character. At the SGA approval meeting, I was met with over 60 protesters and answered over 90 minutes of questions from them. I had to defend myself from accusations of white supremacy and essentially validate my right to study Western thought. I was also told at the meeting that the term Western itself is a dog whistle term for white, and that the study of the West is inherently white supremacy. Without any evidence, without attempting to engage in a dialogue beyond the shouting of loaded questions, these students concluded that I was a white supremacist, and that the standard ideas and authors in a liberal arts curriculum should not be permitted at a liberal arts college. Soon after, the censorship committed. The SGA immediately ignored its standard procedures. Members decided that the vote of approval should be delayed as too many students were against it. This violated both Trinity and SGA's policies. We even contacted FIRE, the Foundation for Individual Rights for Education, who they sent a letter to the administration and the SGA to inform them of these violations. This letter can be found on FIRE's website. Over the course of the next 8 weeks, we were subject to 2 unprecedented public town halls and 2 other SGA meetings. During these meetings, we received a barrage of intense questioning and accusations, all from wanting to explore something different academically. Our very existence on campus offended them and angered them. The animosity in these meetings were deeply apparent. The Student Government Association became a self-righteous political machine destined to destroy our academic pursuits, targeting the ideas of Western philosophy which built the very university in which they could apply their censorship. These tyrannical forces believes our organization harms the existence of the community members offended by liberal arts education. But who was actually victimized in these proceedings? It's difficult to see how the students who shout and angrily demand conformity so that the opposing viewpoints are silenced could be understood as victims. Are the victims not the ones who are silenced on the account of their views? Soon after, a group formed on campus known as the Militants, and so started the so-called militant movement, or known on Instagram as @MilitantMovement, who set out on a journey to both provoke and harm me mentally and prevent SGA club recognition. They stalked our social media accounts and plastered our faces on flyers that read the new racism is every bit as ugly as the old. Hundreds of these libelous posters were scattered around campus by masked students attempting to avoid camera detection. An affiliate of the Militants who goes by the online pseudonym Soicolo broke into my mailbox and left a note that said, "Be careful what you wish for." For nearly a month, I was the target of deplorable Instagram posts and attacks, mailbox tampering, and libelous postings. I was called a pasty Klansman on Instagram, dubbed the next leader of the KKK. Think about it. Can you ever being imagined called that? Imagine working for months with a school and community to build trust, unity, and bipartisanship, and then to be called those things by parts of the very community in which you're trying to engage. From the community in which you live. My faith in academic inquiry and free speech has been seriously damaged, if not shattered. I felt isolated, and I wondered if my opinions weren't really worthy of being heard, or that these ideas should even be worth studied. This should never happen in America. The country of the free, given to us by Western thought, and in the same country I am now attacked for admiring and wanting to study it. What does free speech in America come to? Somehow, the situation actually got worse. The faculty got involved. Yes, supposedly sophisticated adults with PhDs joined in censoring my speech and encouraged the SGA to violate its own policies and Trinity's contractual obligations. They sent out school-wide emails reaffirming that the idea of our classically liberal arts ideas would somehow harm people, and that Western thought was harmful and should be discouraged from being studied altogether. And finally, the nail in the coffin. The SGA voted to deny recognition as a club. Freedom of speech is lost at Trinity. It is clear that academic inquiry at Trinity is under severe assault. A politically motivated, supported by an equally biased faculty, both allowed and encouraged censorship of academic inquiry, and in doing so demonstrated their lack of respect for freedom of speech. The Student Government Association can no longer claim to be working for the students, but instead responsible for its enabling of heinous actions towards members of its own constituents. Understanding the damage that SGA and an illiberal group of professors could do to the college reputation, Trinity's administration stepped in. It acknowledged that the Churchill Club had met all the requirements for recognition and that it should be recognized on campus. Unfortunately, though unsurprisingly, the school erupted into chaos. Students and some members of the SGA stormed President Berger-Sweeney's office and let us sit in. Reflect on that for a moment. Students were upset that the president of a liberal arts college defended and allowed a voice to be heard on campus. I guess to them, free speech is fine until you disagree with them. Because I disagreed, because I decided to deepen my knowledge of Western philosophy and the founding principles of this country, I was bullied, I was harassed, and I was made to think my voice and ideas should not be considered on campus. But guess what, militants? Guess what, SGA? I'm here and I'm still fighting. What happened to me should never happen to anyone, let alone a student at a liberal arts college. We need to see the threat against free speech and we need to fight it now. No self-described militant, professor, student, nor leader will intimidate me, and they should not intimidate any student regardless of what a student's opinions or beliefs are. Whatever this body can do to ensure that institutions of higher education in Connecticut continue to be places of free speech and expression should be done, and done as soon as possible. Together as a state, we will win, and together we will take back the first. Thank you.
Forgive me a moment, Nick, what was the name of your club again?
The Churchill Club, yeah.
Like Winston?
Yeah, like Winston Churchill.
Okay.
Thank you, Nick. And that's just one example of all the free speech violations that we as college Republicans face on college campuses. I want to call up Republican Party of Connecticut Chairman J.R. Romano, who we've been working with over the summer, many months, to establish our initiative, and he's been helping us out a lot.
Thank you, Tim. First of all, I just want to congratulate these students. What they face on a daily basis is just astounding. And you heard one example. I mean, we've had these examples happen in high schools in Connecticut. The president recently acknowledged an example in West Haven where that student was bullied and harassed by teachers. I think the reality of what we're facing here in this country is that anything that is not liberal, anything that doesn't fit the ideology of the Democratic Party should be shouted down and attacked. Recently in a Yahoo News poll, 73% of Republicans on college campuses said that they are uncomfortable or unwilling to share their political opinions out of fear. 73% of students. Now, we just heard a story of harassment, bullying, which frankly is quite frightening. We're fortunate to have these students who are strong enough to take on those challenges. What happens if that student isn't that strong? What happens to the mental health of a student that constantly lives in fear? What no one is recognizing is the professors and the administrations are in positions of power. We have laws protecting power dynamics. These students need to be protected. It is up to, and I'm so happy the legislators are here, we need to do something to step in and help these students to make sure that they are not harassed, bullied, or intimidated, simply believing that we need a smaller government, better tax structure, and believing that ideology of freedom and liberty. So I'm so happy to be standing here today, and I'm so proud of these students.
Thank you, JR. So as we close, I just want to kind of express, we're not doing this because we want Republican views to be expressed on college campuses. We want this to happen so every student, regardless of political ideology, can speak. I've gone through a lot over my 4 years at the University of New Haven, and I know there's a lot of people who go through the same and don't say anything. And that's the real crime here, is people are just being suppressed into silence so they can't express their own ideas. And it's gonna be happening on the left as we see the Democratic Party move so far left that mainstream centrist ideals are gonna be attacked next. And just we need to stop this now, and that's why I'm happy to be standing here with all these legislators, my members of my organization, to be hopefully putting an end to this. So I thank you guys for coming out and the support you guys give us. Thank you.